My eyelids snapped open to marble, so cold it burned. This wasn't my walk-up in Astoria with the radiator that clanked like a dying robot. The air tasted of cedar and gun oil, nothing like the Febreze I'd sprayed over last night's takeout curry. Sunset bled through 40-foot glass, turning Midtown into molten copper. A crystal chandelier the size of a car hovered above, scattering light across a desk big enough to land helicopters. Happy hour's over. I rasped, throat raw, head splitting. Fragments detonated behind my eyes. The encrypted drive, the accidental forward, the 911 text from an unknown number, asterisk, asterisk, penthouse. Now, asterisk, asterisk. I sat up too fast. My blouse, once Chris Brooks Brothers, hung off one shoulder, mother of pearl buttons scattered like buckshot. The bathroom door hissed open on silent tracks. Steam rolled out first, then him. Dago Moretti filled the frame in a half-unbuttoned white dress shirt, sleeves rolled to reveal ink that crawled from knuckles to throat, roses, scripture, a tiny saint bleeding at the collarbone. Wet hair slicked back, jaw carved from the same marble under my bare feet. His eyes, storm gray ringed in gold, pinned me like a scope. "You're awake," he said, voice low enough to rattle the crystal overhead. I clutched the blouse closed. "Where the hell?" "My office. 42nd floor. You leaked a file that got a soldier killed." The words hit harder than the marble. I remembered the drive, the cursor blinking, send. "Please don't fire me," I whispered. He crossed the room in 3 strides, loafer silent. The city behind him looked suddenly breakable. "Fire you?" His thumb brushed the tear in my blouse, testing the fabric like he was pricing my soul. "Then stay with me." My pulse thundered in my ears. "Stay how?" He tapped a tablet awake. Security footage, my screen, midnight, a shadow in the server room. Asterisk, asterisk, not my hands, asterisk, asterisk. Someone else had used my login. "Your mistake was the cover story," he said. "The real mole wants you gone. Walk out that elevator. You're a ghost by morning." I laughed, sharp, hysterical. "I have a lease in Queens. Student loans. A cat named Mr. President. Lease paid. Loans deferred. Cats eating salmon on my dime." His fingers closed around my wrist, thumb on the vein. "Choice is simple, and door number 1, you vanish. Door number 2, you stay under my protection until I gut the traitor." I stared at our reflection in the window, his ink against my pale skin, Manhattan glittering like a loaded chamber. But even to my own ears, the words died the second the elevator door sealed behind me with a whisper-soft hiss. No lobby, no escape, just a private car that rocketed me 42 floors back into the dragon's lair. Diego didn't follow. He didn't need to. 2 men in charcoal suits, faces like tax forms, flanked me the moment the doors reopened. One carried my laptop bag. The other held a matte black keycard that looked government-issued. They marched me past the reception desk I used to rule at 9:05 a.m. sharp, past the glass conference room where I'd once scheduled board calls between sips of burnt office coffee, and straight to a corridor I'd never been allowed to see. A retinal scanner blinked green. Another door. Then, the penthouse suite swallowed me whole. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Manhattan like a screensaver nobody earned. The Hudson glittered west, the Chrysler Building stabbed the dusk east, and every inch of hardwood between them cost more than my annual salary. A single orchid, white, perfect, sat in a baccarat vase on a table that could double as a helipad. The air smelled of cedar again, but now it mixed with something warmer. Leather. Skin. Him. "Guest wing's yours," Dago said from the shadows of a hallway I hadn't noticed. He'd lost the suit jacket. The white shirt clung to shoulders that could bench press my zip code. "Biometrics are set to your print. Don't wander past the kitchen after midnight. My men get twitchy." I opened my mouth, some reflection about boundaries, HR violations, the Geneva Convention, but the taller guard set my laptop on a marble counter and vanished. The shorter one followed. The door locked with a sound like a judge's gavel. Diego was already gone. I stood in the silence, clutching the torn blouse like a life vest. My reflection stared back from a window the size of a billboard. Hair a bird's nest disaster. Mascara streaked, one shoulder bare where the fabric had surrendered. Somewhere below, yellow cabs honked like geese. Up here, the only sound was my pulse. I found the guest wing because apparently wing was a real estate term now. A bedroom the size of a Soho loft, bed dressed in linen that probably had its own passport. Walk-in closet already stocked, my size, my colors, tags still dangling like price tags on a hostage. A bathroom with a tub carved from a single slab of Carrara and a rainfall shower that could host Coachella. On the nightstand, my phone, fully charged, 17 new texts from mom, 0 bars of signal. A yellow post-it in Diego's slashing handwriting. Service blocked for your safety. Use the landline if you need me. Asterisk, asterisk. I laughed until it hurt. Then I cried until the orchid blurred. Night 1, I didn't sleep. I paced the suite in borrowed silk pajamas, counting steps between windows. 47 from bed to balcony. 23 from balcony to kitchen. The guards rotated every 4 hours. I timed them by the soft scuff of Italian leather on marble. At 2:14 a.m., I tried the front door. The handle didn't budge. The retinal scanner stayed red. I pressed my forehead to the cool steel and whispered every curse word I knew in 3 languages. Morning arrived like a ransom note. A soft chime. The door unlocked. A silver tray slid in on silent wheels. 2 poached eggs, sourdough toast cut into perfect soldiers, a single espresso in a cup the color of Dago's eyes. A new post-it. Eat. You'll need the fuel. D asterisk asterisk. I ate standing up, scalding my tongue on the coffee. It was perfect. Of course it was. By 8, I was dressed in a charcoal pencil skirt and blouse from the closet, tags snipped, monogrammed AP on the cuff like I'd been expecting for years. My reflection looked like a stranger who'd robbed a Vogue shoot. I grabbed my laptop, squared my shoulders, and marched into the lion's den. The main living area had transformed into a war room. Diego stood at a glass table littered with blueprints, burner phones, and a Glock disassembled like a Lego set. He wore a navy suit today, no tie, top button undone. The tattoo on his throat, a tiny saint bleeding, peeked above the collar. He didn't look up when I entered. Morning, Miss Parker. His voice could slice diamonds. Quarterly reports for the Shell Corp in Delaware. Board call at 10. Don't be late. Just like that, I was his assistant again. Except the boardroom was a dining table that seated 20, and the board was 3 silent men in Brioni who nodded at me like I might be wired. I opened my laptop. The desktop wallpaper, Mr. President the Cat Midyan, was gone, replaced by the Moretti Holdings logo. Every file I'd ever touched at the company sat in neat folders, but the encrypted drive from last night vanished. I clicked anyway. Access denied. Dago's eyes flicked to me. Problem. No, sir. The sir tasted like rust. The day blurred. I scheduled, I transcribed, I smiled when investors on the screen asked if I was new. Diego moved between languages. English for the bankers, Italian for the calls that made the guards stiffen. Once, he leaned over my shoulder to point at a spreadsheet. His breath stirred the hair at my temple. Cell H17, he murmured. You transposed the decimals. His fingers brushed mine on the trackpad. Static shot of my arm. I fixed the cell. He didn't move away. At noon, lunch appeared. Sushi flown in from Nobu, apparently, and I ate at the counter while Diego cleaned the Glock with the same hands that had signed a 9-figure deal an hour earlier. The guards watched ESPN on mute. Nobody spoke to me unless spoken to. Afternoon. I provided a press release about a strategic partnership with a logistics firm in Red Hook. The subtext, whispered between Diego and a man named Enzo, involved shipping containers that definitely weren't carrying artisanal olive oil. By 6, my eyes burned. Diego dismissed the room with a tilt of his chin. The guards melted away. He poured 2 fingers of something amber into a crystal tumbler and offered me the bottle. I shook my head, and my name in his mouth sounded like a secret. You did good today. I wanted to snap that I wasn't a Labrador, but the warmth in his tone stopped me. Instead, I asked the question burning since sunrise. Why keep me working? You could have locked me in the bedroom with a stack of paperbacks and a bottle of Xanax. He studied me over the rim of his glass. Because idle hands ask questions. And because he set the tumbler down. You're better at reading people than half my capos. I need that. It wasn't praise. It was an inventory. Night 2, I learned the rhythm. Dinner at 8. Always Italian, always perfect. Diego ate standing, scrolling through security feeds on a tablet. I sat at the island, picking at osso buco, pretending the guards weren't cataloging my every bite. He noticed. Of course he did. You're dropping weight, he said. Eat the marrow. I obeyed. The guards pretended not to smirk. After dinner, he vanished into his study. I wandered the suite like a ghost. The balcony doors were locked, but the glass was warm from the day's sun. I pressed my palm to it and watched a helicopter blink across the skyline. Somewhere down there, my real life was on life support. At 11:47 p.m., voices leaked through the study door, low, rapid Italian. I shouldn't have understood, but 6 months of scheduling Diego's calls had taught me more than Duolingo ever could. Il traditore è ancora in casa. La ragazza è il capro espiatorio perfetto. My blood turned to sleet. Asterisk traitor in the house. The girl is the perfect scapegoat. Asterisk. I backed away, heart hammering. The hallway camera swiveled to track me. I fled to the guest wing, shut the door, leaned against it until my legs stopped shaking. Sleep didn't come. At 3:12 a.m., I crept to the kitchen for water. The penthouse was dim, city glow painting everything bruise blue. Diego stood at the window, shirt unbuttoned, tattoos stark against his skin. He held a phone to his ear, voice a lethal whisper. Find him. Or I start cutting pieces off everyone until the screaming points me in the right direction. He ended the call. Turned. Saw me. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he crossed the room, slow, deliberate. Stopped a foot away. Close enough that I smelled gun oil on his fingers. Nightmares, he asked. Something like that. He reached past me, opened a cabinet, pulled out a bottle of something amber and expensive, poured 2 fingers into a glass, handed it over. Our fingers brushed. This time I didn't flinch. Drink, he said. Then go back to bed. I drank. It burned like the truth. Day 4 or 5. I'd lost count. I woke to find my laptop open on the nightstand. The screen is glowing. A single folder labeled an _backup_48 HRS. I clicked. Empty. Every email, every spreadsheet, every trace of the leaked file, gone. Not archived. Not encrypted. Wiped. The kind of clean that took root-level access and a ghost in the machine. I stared at the blank screen until it dimmed to black, reflecting my face back at me. Wide eyes, pale cheeks, lips parted in a silent O. Footsteps in the hallway. Diego's voice, low and lethal, speaking to someone on the phone. Tell Luca I want the server logs by dawn. And if he's dragging his feet, remind him what happened to the last man who wasted my time. Luca. The name hit like a bullet. I closed the laptop. My hands didn't shake. Not anymore. Someone inside had set me up. And they were still here. The cage of gold had teeth. The laptop sat between us like a loaded gun. I'd carried it from the guest wing at dawn, knuckles white around the edges, the empty folder still glowing in my mind. Diego was already in the war room. Shirt sleeves rolled high, tattoos flexing as he signed something in blood-red ink. Luca stood at his left, murmuring in Italian, tablet balanced on one palm like an altar boy with scripture. The second Diego's eyes flicked to me. Luca's smile snapped into place. Too wide, too clean. Morning and... Luca's voice was honey over gravel. Coffee's fresh. You look like you need it. I didn't answer. I set the laptop on the glass table with a deliberate clack that silenced the room. The screen woke to the blank folder. And _backup_48 HRS, mocking me in sans serif. Diego's gaze sharpened. Explain. Someone wiped me clean, I said. My voice didn't shake.
Progress.
Root access. Not a glitch. Not a mistake.
Me.
Luca's brows lifted in theatrical shock. That's unfortunate. IT's been glitchy since the merger. Bullshit. The word left my mouth before I could leash it. Luca's smile faltered. Good. Diego closed the folder with one finger. Luca, leave us. Luca hesitated, half a heartbeat, but I caught it. Then he nodded, smooth as ever, and glided out. The door was sealed. The air thinned. Diego didn't sit. He circled me instead, slow, the way a shark tests water temperature. You think I did this? I think someone wants me to take the fall. And you're keeping me in a cage while they finish the job. His laugh was soft, dangerous. You want out? He tapped the retinal scanner by the door. Print opens it. Walk. I didn't move. Because we both knew the second I stepped into the elevator, I'd be dead before the lobby. He knew it. I knew it. The city outside the glass knew it. Then stop treating me like a hostage, I said. If I'm here, make me useful. Teach me how to survive, whatever the hell this is. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe respect. He stopped circling. You sure? Positive. He exhaled through his nose, then jerked his chin toward the couch. Sit. Training began at 0900 sharp. First lesson, discretion. He slid a burner phone across the table. Text Luca. Tell him you found a second drive in your apartment. You're bringing it in. My fingers hovered. He'll know it's a lie. That's the point. Diego leaned in, forearms corded, ink shifting like a living shadow. Watch his face when you hand him nothing. The micro-twitch under his left eye, he can't hide it when he's cornered. I typed. Sent. Luca replied in seconds. Bring it to the study. Now. Asterisk. Diego's mouth curved. Good. Lesson 2. Reading the room. He led me to the study, a fortress of dark wood and leather that smelled like church and gunpowder. 3 guards stood at parade rest. Diego didn't speak. He just watched me watch them. The one on the left kept glancing at his watch. The middle one's thumb rubbed the grip of his holster in a rhythm. Asterisk 1, 2, 3, pause. Asterisk the right one stared at a spot 6 inches above my head. Which one's new? Diego asked. I swallowed. Middle. He's counting heartbeats. Nervous. Diego's eyes glinted. Correct. He started yesterday. Luca hired him. My stomach flipped. Lesson 3. Lying. He handed me a dossier, thick, classified, stamped with a crest I didn't recognize. Memorize page 7. Then burn it. I flipped to the page. Shipping manifests. Names. Dates. A container labeled medical supplies arriving at Pier 39, Red Hook. I read it twice, committed the details to memory, then fed it to the fireplace. The flames ate the paper like it was starving. Now, Diego said, tell Luca you lost the drive. Make him believe you. I found Luca in the kitchen, pouring espresso, like he owned the beans. I let my hands tremble, just enough. I can't find it, I stammered. I tore my apartment apart. It's gone. Luca's face did the thing Diego predicted. Left eye twitching once. Then the mask slid back. Don't worry, Kara, we'll figure it out. He patted my shoulder. His hand lingered half a second too long. I smiled. Inside, I was ice. The days blurred into a curriculum of shadows. Lesson 4, movement. Diego taught me how to walk without sound. Heels off, weight on the balls of my feet, breath synced to the rhythm of the city below. We practiced in the hallway at 3 a.m., his hand on the small of my back guiding me past motion sensors. His palm burned through the silk of my shirt. Lesson 5, evasion. He blindfolded me, spun me until the world tilted, then whispered directions in Italian. Asterisk sinistra. Destra. Fermati. Asterisk I stumbled, crashed into his chest. He steadied me, fingers tightening on my hips. Again, he'd murmur, breathing against my ear. Until you can find me in the dark. I did. Every time. Between lessons, the penthouse breathed around us. Guards rotated like clockwork. Luca appeared too often, bringing files, offering water, asking if I needed anything. His eyes lingered on the hollow of my throat where Dago's fingerprints had left faint bruises from a training hold, gone too intense. I started noticing things. The way Luca's keycard beeped one tone higher than the others, custom access. The way he angled his body to block security cameras when he thought no one was watching. The way he asked, casually, if I'd spoken to my mother lately. Mom's number was unlisted. I'd never mentioned her. Diego noticed me noticing. One night, after I'd lied my way out of a fake interrogation, convincingly enough that even he looked impressed, he poured 2 glasses of Barolo and handed me one. You're a natural, he said. Survival's a hell of a teacher. He studied me over the rim. You hate me for this. I hate being a pawn. You're not. His voice dropped. You're the only piece I trust right now. The admission hung between us, fragile as the crystal in his hand. We didn't speak of it again.
But the air changed.
Touches lingered. When he adjusted my stance during evasion drills, his thumb traced the inside of my wrist. When I handed him a decrypted file, our fingers brushed, and neither pulled away. Once, at 2 a.m., I found him on the balcony, city lights bleeding across his face. I brought him coffee. He took the mug, then my hand, pulling me to stand between him and the railing, his chest to my back. No words, just the heat of him, the weight of his arm across my collarbone like a seatbelt. I didn't move. Neither did he. The man beneath the monster started to surface in fragments. A scar under his left rib, shrapnel, Kandahar, 2011. A dog-eared copy of Meditations on his nightstand, margin notes in a soldier's cramped handwriting. The way he flinched when thunder rolled over the Hudson, like incoming mortar fire. One afternoon, I caught him staring at a photo on his desk. Younger Diego in desert camo, arms slung around a grinning soldier. Both alive. Both untouched by the ink that now mapped his grief. That's Mateo, he said when he realized I was looking. My spotter. Took a round meant for me.
His voice was raw.
Dad sent me home in a box. I came back in one piece. Then he stopped. I didn't need to finish. I understood. Revenge wasn't a choice. It was oxygen. The tension coiled tighter. Then came dinner. He dismissed the guards early. Just us, the long table dressed in linen and candlelight, osso buco again, my favorite now because he'd noticed. I wore a dress from the closet. Black, backless, dangerous. He wore midnight blue, no tie, and a saint tattoo peeking like a secret. We ate in silence until the plates were cleared. He poured the last of the wine. His knee brushed mine under the table. Didn't move. And I looked up. The candlelight turned his eyes to molten gold. I'm keeping you close for protection, he said. That's the lie I tell my men. The truth. He set the glass down, leaned forward until his forehead nearly touched mine. You make me forget what I am. When you're in the room, I'm not the man who buries bodies in Jersey. I'm just Diego. And I'm starving for it. The confession cracked something open in my chest. I reached across the table, laced my fingers through his. Ink and warmth and ruin. Then don't forget, I whispered. Not tonight. His thumb traced my knuckle, slow, reverent. The space between us shrank to breath and heartbeat. Outside, Manhattan glittered like a loaded promise. Inside, the cage of gold had become something else entirely. The elevator opened on the 38th floor at 8:57 a.m. sharp. Same glass walls, same marble, same scent of bergamot and fear. Only now, every security camera swiveled to track me like a spotlight on a prison yard. I stepped out in a charcoal sheath dress, my own this time, smuggled in by Dago's driver at dawn. The click of my heels echoed louder than it ever had. 2 new faces flanked the reception desk. Neither smiled. One touched his earpiece as I passed. Asterisk, she's in. Asterisk. My office, formerly a fishbowl of post-its and dying succulents, had been upgraded. Bulletproof glass, biometric lock, a single orchid in the same baccarat vase from the penthouse. On the desk, a new MacBook, still in plastic, and a yellow legal pad with Dago's handwriting. Schedule attached. Eyes on you.
Play the part.
D****. I opened the laptop. The desktop wallpaper was the Moretti Holdings crest. Every keystroke I knew was mirrored somewhere in the building. I exhaled, slow, and started typing. By 10:12, Luca appeared in the doorway holding 2 cappuccinos. Thought you'd need the good stuff, he said, sliding one across the desk. His smile was warm, practiced. Rough week, huh? I took the cup. You could say that. He leaned against the frame, arms folded. The sleeves of his navy suit rode up just enough to flash a gold watch. Patek. Vintage. Diego hated ostentatious gold. How's the boss treating you? Luca asked. Penthouse life must be intense. Intense is one word for it. Luca's eyes flicked to the orchid, then back to me. You know, if you ever need to vent. Off the record, I'm here. Dago's family, but even family can be blind to their own storms. The cappuccino tasted perfect.
Too perfect.
I set it down. I'm fine, Luca. Just catching up. He lingered another beat, then nodded. Offer stands, Bella. He tapped the doorframe twice and left. I waited 30 seconds, then dumped the coffee in the sink. Paranoia tasted metallic on my tongue. The morning bled into conference calls and color-coded spreadsheets. I scheduled a board lunch at Per Se, rerouted a wire transfer to the Caymans, and smiled at interns who now looked at me like I might bite. Every hour, a guard rotated past my glass wall. At 11:43, I caught one slipping something under my keyboard, a black dip no bigger than a lentil. I didn't touch it. I typed louder, angled the screen so the camera couldn't see my fingers. Bug confirmed. Who's listening? Asterisk. Lunch was a protein box delivered by a runner who wouldn't meet my eyes. I ate at my desk, scrolling through the company directory. Luca's headshot smiled back, same easy charm, same dimple. I zoomed in. The background behind him was the penthouse balcony. He'd been there recently. Very recently. At 2:17 p.m., my office phone buzzed. Internal line. Rooftop. 9 p.m. wear something warm. No signature needed. The rest of the day crawled. I proofed a press release about sustainable shipping initiatives while mentally cataloging exits. At 5:59, I shut down the laptop, slipped the bug into a tissue, and crushed it under my heel. The crunch was satisfying. The elevator ride to the penthouse felt longer than the fall from grace. Diego was waiting in the private foyer, coat in hand. Black cashmere, collar turned up against the October chill. He didn't speak, just held the coat for me. I slid my arms in. His fingers brushed the nape of my neck, lingering. The helicopter pad on the roof had been cleared. A single Bell 505 waited, rotor still. Diego helped me in, buckled my harness himself. The pilot nodded once. We lifted off into the bruise-colored sky. Manhattan shrank beneath us, a circuit board of light. The chopper banked south, skimming the Hudson, then east over the Brooklyn Bridge. I pressed my forehead to the window. Diego's reflection stared back, jaw tight, eyes unreadable. 20 minutes later, we touched down on a private helipad atop a converted warehouse in Red Hook. The pilot cut the engine. Diego opened the door himself. The rooftop had been staged like a scene from someone else's life. A single table, white linen, 2 chairs. Heat lamps glowing amber. A bottle of Barolo breathing beside a charcuterie board that probably cost more than my rent. Beyond the parapet, the city glittered like spilled diamonds. Diego pulled out my chair. No guards tonight. I sat. The wind tugged at my hair. He poured the wine, handed me a glass, then took the seat across. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. You found the bug, he said finally. Yes. Luca? I don't know yet. I sipped the wine. It tasted like regret and cherries. But he's asking questions he shouldn't. And he knew about the orchid. Diego's fingers tightened on the stem of his glass. He's been with me for 12 years. Long enough to get comfortable. Silence stretched, thick as the fog rolled in from the harbor. Below, a container ship's horn moaned. Diego set his glass down. I was 26 when my father died, he said. His voice was low, almost lost in the wind. We were at the summer house in Sag Harbor. I was home on leave, Rangers, second tour. Dad had stepped back from life, or so he said. Wanted me clean. He stared at the skyline like it might answer him. That night, 3 masked men kicked in the door. Dad told me to hide in the panic room. I didn't. I watched through the vent. They made him kneel, asked about a ledger. When he wouldn't talk, Dago's jaw flexed. They put 2 in his chest, 1 in his head. Then they torched the place. I reached across the table. My hand covered his. The ink on his knuckles was cold. I came out shooting, he continued. Killed 2. The 3rd got away. Cops ruled it a robbery. I knew better. The ledger was a list of every dirty judge, cop, and rival who'd ever taken Moretti money. Dad was going to turn it over to the feds. Someone found out. His fingers curled around mine, tight enough to bruise. I buried him in Calvary. Then I buried the old me. Took the ledger.
Took the empire.
Took the name they whispered in the dark. He looked at me then, eyes raw. I became the monster they created. The wind shifted. Somewhere, a siren wailed. I didn't let go of his hand. You're not a monster, I said. You're a man who ran out of choices. He laughed, bitter. You shouldn't trust men like me, and our hands were still linked across the linen. The heat lamps painted gold across his cheekbones. I leaned forward until our foreheads nearly touched. Maybe I already do. The words hung between us, fragile as the wineglass trembling in his other hand. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, the storm was still there, but something softer flickered beneath. He stood, pulled me up with him. The city sprawled below, indifferent and electric. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, thumb lingering on my cheek. Then God help us both, he murmured. Behind us, the helicopter rotors began to spin. But neither of us moved. The invitation arrived on heavy cream stock, embossed in gold. Moretti Holdings' 75th Anniversary Gala. The Rainbow Room, 65th floor, 30 Rockefeller Plaza. Black tie. No exceptions. Asterisk, asterisk. I found it on the breakfast island at 6:03 a.m., propped against a black velvet box the size of a paperback. Diego was already gone. Some dawn meeting in Jersey, but his scent lingered in the cashmere throw draped over the bar stool. I opened the box. Inside, a gown. Midnight silk, off-shoulder, slit to the thigh. A diamond choker that caught the pendant light and fractured it into 1,000 tiny knives. A note in his slashing script. Wear this. Be ready by 7. We're going hunting. D asterisk asterisk. My pulse kicked. Hunting. By 6:47 p.m., I stood in the penthouse mirror with a stranger. The dress clung like liquid night. The choker, cold, heavy, rested above my collarbone like a brand. My hair was swept into a low knot, a few tendrils left to curl against my neck. Diego appeared behind me, reflection only, in a tuxedo cut so sharp it could slice glass. His bow tie was still undone, hanging loose. He met my eyes in the mirror. You missed a button, I said. He stepped closer. His hands settled on my hips, thumbs tracing the silk. I missed a lot of things. His voice was gravel and smoke. Tonight, you're mine.
Publicly. Completely. Can you sell it?
I turned in his arms. The choker flashed. I've been selling it since the rooftop. Something dark and hungry flared in his eyes. He tied the bow tie without looking, fingers brushing my throat. Then he offered his arm. Let's go catch a rat. The Rainbow Room had been transformed into a fever dream of crystal and gold. Chandeliers dripped light like molten honey. The orchestra played Sinatra under a ceiling painted with constellations. 500 of New York's elites swirled in Dior and desperation. Cameras flashed. Phones stayed in purses, Moretti rules. We entered at 8:02. Every head turned. Diego's hand rested possessively at the small of my back, thumb stroking the bare skin above the dress's dip. Whispers followed us like smoke. Who is she? The assistant. Parker, right? He's never brought a date. He leaned down, lips brushing my ear. Smile, Kara. They're eating you alive. I smiled. It felt like baring teeth. Champagne appeared in my hand before I asked. Diego guided me through the crowd, nodding at senators, kissing the cheeks of socialites who eyed the choker like it might bite. Luca was already there, tuxedo pristine, smile dialed to 11, greeting a cluster of hedge fund princes near the bar. He saw us. His gaze flicked to Diego's hand on my waist, then to the diamonds at my throat. Something flickered across his face. Too fast to name. Then the smile widened. Boss, you clean up nice. Luca clapped Diego on the shoulder, then turned to me.
And,
Bellissima, that dress should be illegal. Diego's grip tightened. It is in 3 states. Luca laughed, but his eyes stayed on me. Save me a dance later? The schedule's tight, Diego said. But we'll see. The orchestra shifted to a slow, aching waltz. Diego set his glass on a passing tray.
now.
He led me to the floor. The crowd parted like water. His hand found mine, the other splayed across my bare back. We moved. Not dancing. Asterisk claiming star. Every step pressed me closer until I felt his heartbeat through the tuxedo shirt. His thumb traced the edge of the choker. Eyes on the room, he murmured. Tell me what you see. I scanned over his shoulder. Luca's on his phone, texting one-handed. Keep glancing at the southeast corner. Diego spun me. I caught a glimpse. A man in midnight blue, silver at the temples, standing apart from the crowd. Don Salvatore Ricci, head of the family that controlled Staten Island. Their eyes met Luca's. A nod. Barely. Ricci's here, I whispered. Diego's jaw flexed. Good. Keep watching. The song ended. Applause rippled. Diego didn't let go. He tucked me into his side, guiding me toward the bar. Luca intercepted us, 2 fresh flutes in hand. To old friends, he toasted. His gaze slid to me. And new ones. We drank. The champagne tasted like copper. Diego excused himself, some urgent call about a container delay. He kissed my temple, lingering. Stay in sight. I nodded. The second he vanished into the crowd, Luca was there. Dance with me and... Not a question. I let him lead me back to the floor. The orchestra had shifted to something slower, syrupy. His hand settled too low on my waist. You're glowing tonight, he said. Diego's good for you. Jealous. He chuckled. Curious. He's never kept anyone this close. Makes a man wonder. His thumb brushed the edge of the choker. Expensive gift. Almost like a collar. I stepped on his foot. Hard. Oops. His smile didn't falter.
Careful, Bella.
Some dogs bite. Across the room, Don Ricci watched us. Luca's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then at Ricci. Another nod. My skin crawled. The song ended. I pulled away. I need air. Luca let me go, but his eyes followed. I found the terrace door slipped outside. The October air is a bit sharp. The city sprawled below, indifferent. I gripped the railing. Diamonds cutting into my palm. Footsteps. Not Diego's. Don Ricci stepped into the light, cigar glowing. Miss Parker, you're a hard woman to reach. I backed up. This is a private event. So, was your little data leak? He smiled, all teeth. You think Diego's protecting you? He's using you. Always has. That file you accidentally sent? Planted. By someone who wanted you scared.
Close.
Disposable. My blood turned to ice. You're lying. Am I? He flicked ash over the railing. Ask yourself why Luca's been feeding me your schedule. Why was your apartment tossed last week? Why is Diego suddenly so possessive?
He leaned in.
Your bait, sweetheart. And the hook's already set. He walked away, leaving cigar smoke and panic in his wake. I re-entered the gala on shaky legs. The crowd blurred. Diego found me near the champagne pyramid, eyes scanning. There you are. He cupped my face. You're pale. Ricci, I started. His thumb pressed my lips. Later. The orchestra struck up a tango. Diego pulled me into it without asking. The music was sharp, urgent. Our bodies moved like they'd rehearsed this for years. His hand slid down my spine, pressing me flush against him. The room faded. "Tell me," he said against my ear. "Ricci says I'm bait. That the leak was planted." "Luca." Dago's eyes darkened. He spun me out, then snapped me back in closer. "I know. You know." I suspected. "Tonight confirms it." His hand cupped my jaw. "But you're not bait, and you're the reason I'm ending this." The music swelled. He dipped me low, my hair brushing the floor. When he pulled me up, his mouth was a breath away. "I should have told you," he said, "but I couldn't risk you running." "I wouldn't. You would have. And I'd have lost you." His forehead touched mine. "I can't lose you." The tango ended. Applause thundered. Diego didn't move. His hand slid to the nape of my neck, under the choker. His eyes searched mine, raw, unguarded. Then he kissed me, not for the crowd, not for the act. A claim, a confession, a war cry. His mouth was fire and forgiveness. I kissed him back like drowning, fingers tangled in his lapels. The choker dug into my skin. The world narrowed to his heartbeat under my palms. A scream shattered the moment. Then gunfire. Glass exploded inward. Chandeliers rained crystal. The orchestra screeched to silence. Diego shoved me behind him as bodies hit the floor. His gun was in his hand before I blinked. Where the hell had that come from? Lucas stood near the southeast corner, phone to his ear, eyes wide. Not scared.
Calculating.
Diego's voice cut through the chaos. And, asterisk, stay down, asterisk. Another burst of gunfire. A woman screamed. Blood bloomed on white tuxedo shirts. Diego fired once, precise, lethal. A man in a waiter's uniform dropped, weapon clattering. Security swarmed. Guests stampeded. I crawled behind the bar, heart in my throat. Diego's silhouette moved through the smoke like a predator, gun raised. Luca was gone. I pressed my back to the bar, diamonds cutting into my skin, Diego's kiss still burning on my lips. The gala was over. The war had just begun. The first bullet punched through a crystal flute 2 inches from my ear. Glass exploded like frozen rain. I dropped, knees skidding across marble slick with champagne and blood. Diego's body was a wall in front of me. Tuxedo jacket torn open, gun already in his fist. He fired twice. A man in a waiter's vest jerked backward, red blooming across his chest. The body hit the floor with a wet thud. Screams ricocheted off the chandeliers. The orchestra's instruments clattered as musicians dove for cover. A woman in emerald silk crawled past me, mascara streaking. One stiletto snapped. I tasted copper, my lip bitten through. Diego's hand clamped my wrist. Move. He hauled me behind the bar. Bottles shattered overhead, liquor raining like holy water. His back pressed to the wood, shielding me. I could feel his heart hammering through the Kevlar lining of his tux. Steady, lethal. His eyes scanned the room, cataloging exits, threats, angles. The storm gray was gone. Only predator gold remained. And look at me. I did. His thumb smeared blood across my cheek. Whose, I didn't know. Security's coming. When they grab you, don't fight. Go with them. I'll find you. Another burst of gunfire. Wood splintered above our heads. He shoved me lower, his body a cage around mine. Safe. The word didn't belong in a war zone, but it was the only one that fit. Boots pounded. 2 men in black tactical gear, Moretti crest on their sleeves, burst through the terrace doors. One grabbed my arm. Diego's grip tightened, then released. Penthouse. Lockdown.
Now.
The guard nodded. I was dragged backward through smoke and screams, Diego's silhouette swallowed by chaos. The service elevator ride was a blur of red strobes and the guard's radio crackling. Boss is engaged, southwest corner, multiple shooters. I stared at my reflection in the polished steel doors. Choker askew, diamonds flecked with someone else's blood, eyes too wide. The girl who'd begged not to be fired was gone. The penthouse doors sealed behind me with a hiss. Silence crashed in, louder than gunfire. I stumbled to the kitchen island, palms flat on cold marble, breath sawing in and out. My hands shook so hard the choker's clasp cut into my skin. Minutes bled into an hour. I paced, counted heartbeats. I watched the city lights flicker through bulletproof glass like nothing had happened. My phone buzzed, unknown number. Stay inside. D****. I didn't answer. Couldn't. At 11:47 p.m., the retinal scanner blinked green. Diego stepped through alone. His tuxedo shirt was shredded, blood soaking the left sleeve. His or someone else's, impossible to tell. A cut sliced his cheekbone, dripping onto the marble. The gun was gone, but his knuckles were raw, split. He looked like a war zone in human form.
He didn't speak.
Just crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled me into him.
Hard.
His arms banded around my waist, lifting me off the floor. I buried my face in his neck. Gunpowder, sweat, cedar.
Alive.
You're bleeding, I whispered. Not mine. His voice cracked on the last word. I pulled back. His eyes were wild, pupils blown. How many? 3 down. 1 in custody. Ricci's men. He set me down but didn't let go. Luca's gone. The name hit like a second bullet. Gone. Vanished in the chaos. Took a service exit. My men are sweeping the city.
His jaw flexed.
He played with us both. I stepped back. The choker suddenly felt like a noose. Ricci said I was bait. That the leak was planted. You knew. Diego's silence was enough. The room tilted. I gripped the counter. You used me. He flinched, like I'd slapped him. I suspected Luca weeks ago. The wipe on your laptop, the bug in your office, the way he hovered. I needed proof. The gala was the trap. I was the trap. You were the only one he'd underestimate. He took a step closer. I kept you close every second. Armed guards. The choker, panic button in the clasp. I never left you exposed, except I was. My voice broke. People died tonight because of me. No, he cupped my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. They died because Luca sold us out. You were the reason I ended it faster. I searched his face, blood, exhaustion, something raw underneath. You should have told me. And have you run? His thumb stroked my cheeks. You would have. And I'd have lost you before he stopped. Swallowed. Before I had you. The confession hung between us, fragile as the shattered crystal downstairs. I wanted to scream, to hit him, to kiss him until the world made sense again. Instead, I whispered, I saw you kill that man. He didn't look away. To keep you breathing. I wasn't scared. The words tumbled out, surprising us both. When you shot him, when you covered me, I pressed a hand to his chest, over the steady thud of his heart. Safe. That's what terrifies me. His forehead dropped to mine. And footsteps in the hallway. Enzo, head of security, appeared, face grim. Boss. We found Luca's car. Abandoned at Pier 39. Blood in the trunk. Not his. Diego's arms tightened around me. He's cleaning up loose ends. Enzo's gaze flicked to me. She's a target now. Officially. Diego's voice turned lethal. Then we end this tonight. Enzo nodded and vanished. The door sealed again. I pulled away, wrapping my arms around myself. The choker's weight was unbearable. I reached back, fumbled with the clasp. Diego's hands covered mine, stilling them. Let me. He unhooked it. The diamonds fell into his palm like captured stars. A bruise bloomed where the clasp had dug in, his fingerprint on my skin. He traced it with his thumb, eyes dark. I'm sorry, he said. The words sounded foreign in his mouth. I protected you the only way I know how. Ruthless. Reckless. Mine. I stared at the bruise. At the blood drying on his cuff. At the man who'd killed for me and still trembled holding me like I might break. I'm still here, I said. His breath hitched.
Yeah.
You are. He pulled me back into him, slower this time. My cheek pressed to his ruined shirt. I could hear his heart again, faster now. His hand slid into my hair, cradling my skull. Outside, sirens wailed toward Rockefeller Center. Inside, the penthouse was a fortress of glass and gold and gilt. I closed my eyes. The scent of gunpowder clung to his skin like cologne. We stayed like that until the city lights blurred into dawn. The penthouse was a tomb at 3 a.m. City glow filtered through bulletproof glass, painting everything bruise blue and gold. I'd counted every siren since the gala. 23, maybe 24. My skin still smelled of gunsmoke and Dago's blood, even after the shower that scalded me pink. The choker bruise throbbed like a heartbeat at my throat. Sleep was a joke. I padded barefoot down the hallway, silk robe slipping off one shoulder, hair damp and wild. The marble drank the warmth from my soles. Somewhere, a guard's radio crackled. Asterisk, all clear. Peer sighed. Asterisk, then silence. The living room was dim, only the under-cabinet lights in the bar casting long shadows. Diego sat on the leather sectional, elbows on knees, a crystal tumbler dangling from his fingers. The bottle beside him, Macallan 25, was half gone. His shirt was unbuttoned, sleeves rolled. The cut on his cheekbones scabbed black. The saint tattoo at his throat, asterisk San Michele asterisk, I'd learned from a whispered prayer he muttered in Italian, looked like it was weeping. He didn't look up when I entered. Just spoke to the dark. Thought you'd be out cold. Nightmares have better aim than Lucas shooters. I stopped 3 feet away. Close enough to smell peat and copper. Far enough that the air between us crackled. He lifted the glass, took a slow sip. Ice clinked like bones. You should be in bed. So should you. I moved closer. The city lights carved hollows under his eyes. You're still bleeding. He glanced at the bandage on his forearm. Someone had wrapped it sloppy. It's fine. Let me see. I knelt in front of him, knees on the rug that cost more than my mother's house. He watched me like I might vanish. I peeled the tape. The gash was ugly, jagged, deep, stitched with what looked like a fishing line. My fingers trembled as I traced the edges. You did this yourself.
Had to.
Couldn't trust anyone else tonight. His voice was raw, whiskey rough. Luca taught half my medics. The same way he taught me how to field strip an M4 in Kandahar. The name, Kandahar, hit like a bullet. I'd seen the scar under his left rib, the one he never talked about. Shrapnel. 2011. But this was the first time he'd said the place out loud. I pressed a clean gauze from the bar kit to the wound. He hissed, but didn't pull away. You're running on fumes, Dago. Fumes keep me sharp. He set the tumbler down and finally met my eyes. You shouldn't be here. Where else would I be? The question hung. Loaded. He laughed, short, bitter. Most people run from men who shoot waiters in the face. I'm not most people. I tied off the bandage. My hand stayed on his arm. I see you, Dago. The soldier who came home in pieces. The son who buried his father and became the monster to keep the rest of us safe. The man who taught me how to lie, how to breathe in a room full of wolves, how to want to stay in the cage because the lion's the only one who makes it feel like home. His breath stuttered. And I'm done pretending this is just survival. I cupped his face, stubble rough, blood warm under my thumb. You can't fire me, Dago. You already own me. The words cracked the air open. For a heartbeat, he was statue still. Then his hands shot up, fingers spearing into my hair, and he kissed me. Not the gala claim. Not the desperate press after gunfire. This was slow, deliberate. A confession in every slide of his mouth. He tasted like scotch and ruin and mine. I straddled his lap, robe parting, knees bracketing his hips. His hands slid under the silk, palms branding my back, my ribs, the curve of my spine like he was memorizing scripture. I kissed him back like drowning men kiss air. Teeth grazed, tongues tangled. A low sound tore from his throat, half growl, half prayer. He stood, lifting me with him, my legs locking around his waist. The world tilted. My back met the cool glass of the window, 65 floors above the city, that had tried to kill us both. His forehead pressed to mine, breath ragged. Tell me to stop, he rasped. Tell me, and I will. Don't you dare. He groaned, surrender, and kissed me again.
Deeper. Hungrier.
The robe vanished somewhere between the window and the rug. His shirt followed. Skin on skin. Ink on bruises. Heartbeat on heartbeat. The saint at his throat brushed my lips. I kissed it like absolution. We didn't make it to the bedroom. The rug burned my back. His mouth mapped every inch of me. Collarbone, breast, the soft skin under my jaw where the choker had bitten. I arched into him, fingers digging into the scars across his shoulder blades. He whispered my name like a plea, like a curse, like a vow. When he finally slid inside me, it wasn't sex, it was claiming. Slow, relentless, eyes locked. Every thrust a promise. Asterisk, you're safe. You're mine. I'm yours. Asterisk. After, we lay tangled on the rug, city lights flickering across sweat-slick skin. His head on my breast, my fingers in his hair. The Macallan bottle glinted nearby, forgotten. I traced the saint tattoo, then the shrapnel scar. Puckered, pale, a roadmap of a life hero. Tell me something true, I whispered. He was quiet so long I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, I was 24 when I enlisted. Dad wanted me out of life, said the army would make me a man. I made the Ranger tab in 18 months. Deployed to Helmand first, then Kandahar. On the second tour, I was a staff sergeant. Led a squad of 12. Good kids. Too young for the shit we saw. His voice was low, distant, like he was reading from a report he'd memorized. Mateo was my spotter. 22, from Staten Island, talked about his Nana's Sunday gravy like it was heaven. We were on a ridge outside Sanjan, calling in airstrikes on a Taliban compound. Insurgent RPG came in low, should have taken my head. Mateo shoved me, took the shrapnel in the spine, died in my arms while the medevac circled. I carried him 3 clicks to the LZ. His blood soaked my uniform for 48 hours. I pressed my lips to the scar.
He shivered.
I came home on emergency leave for his funeral. Dad picked me up at JFK. Said, "You're done, son. No more wars." He was trying to go legit, real estate, shipping, clean money. But the old guard wouldn't let him. They wanted the ledger. Every dirty deal, every bribe, every body buried in Jersey. Dad was going to turn it over to the feds. Thought it would buy us freedom. His fingers tightened on my hip. Sag Harbor. August. I was 26. We were grilling steaks on the deck. 3 masked men kicked in the door. Dad told me to hide in the panic room. I didn't. Watched through the vent. They made him kneel on the Persian rug Mom picked out in Marrakesh. Asked about the ledger. When he wouldn't talk, his voice cracked. 2 in the chest. 1 in the head. Then they doused the place in gasoline. I came out shooting. Killed 2. The 3rd got away. Cops called it a robbery gone wrong. I knew better. I kissed the corner of his mouth, tasting salt. You buried him in Calvary, next to Mom. Then I buried the old me. He rolled onto his back, staring at the ceiling. Took the ledger.
Took the empire.
Took the name they whispered in the dark. Became the monster they created. Luca was there from the start. Dad's driver's kid. Grew up in life. I trusted him. I thought he was family. His hand found mine, laced our fingers. I haven't slept without nightmares since Mateo. Since Dad. Tonight's the first time I didn't see their faces when I closed my eyes. I pressed my lips to his temple. Stay here. With me. He lifted his head. Eyes soft, unguarded. I'm not going anywhere. Morning crept in on silent feet. I woke to sunlight striping the rug. Dago's arm heavy across my waist, his breath warm against my neck. The penthouse smelled of sex and coffee. Someone had started the machine, probably a guard who knew better than to knock. My robe was draped over the couch like a flag of surrender. Diego stirred. His hand slid up my spine, possessive even in sleep. I turned in his arms. His eyes opened, storm gray again, but calmer. The cut on his cheek had scabbed clean. Morning, he murmured. Hi. I traced the stubble along his jaw. Still own me? His smile was slow, crooked, real. Completely. I kissed him, soft, lazy morning sweet. He tasted like home, like danger, like the man everyone feared, and I'd fallen for somewhere between gunfire and forgiveness. Outside, Manhattan woke up oblivious. Inside, the cage of gold had become a sanctuary. I was exactly where I wanted to be. The call came at 4:17 a.m. Dago's phone buzzed on the nightstand, screen lighting the dark like a flare. I was already awake, tracing the ridges of his scars with my fingertips, memorizing the map of his survival. He answered without looking. Talk. His body went rigid. The arm around my waist turned to steel. Location? A pause. Then, in Italian too fast and vicious for me to follow, he spat orders that made the hair on my neck rise. He ended the call, swung his legs over the bed, and was already pulling on jeans before I sat up. Dago. Luca has you. The words hit like ice water. Security feed from the garage. 2 minutes ago. Black van. He's not running anymore, he's cashing in. My heart stopped. How? Doesn't matter. He yanked a black t-shirt over his head, the fabric stretching across the bandage on his arm. I'm getting you back. He was at the door when I grabbed his wrist. I'm not there. He turned. The storm in his eyes was lethal. What? I never left the penthouse. I've been here. With you. His gaze flicked to the bed, to the rumpled sheets still warm from our bodies. Realization crashed over him. The footage.
Doctored.
Or a decoy. I was already moving, pulling on leggings, a hoodie. He wants you to chase a ghost. Dago's phone buzzed again. A video this time. He opened it. I leaned in. Grainy night vision. A woman in my navy coat, hair in my knot, being dragged from the garage into a van. Same height. Same walk. But the angle hid her face. It's not me, I whispered. Dago's jaw clenched so hard I heard it. He's baiting me. He knows I'll come. Then we don't give him the satisfaction. I grabbed his arm. We think. We plan. We end him on our terms. He stared at me for a beat, then nodded once. The soldier was back. The war room lit up at 4:30. Enzo and 6 men crowded around the glass table, tablets glowing. Diego stood at the head, shirtless now, bulletproof vest half-buckled, gun holstered at his thigh. I stood beside him in borrowed sweats, hair twisted up, adrenaline singing in my veins. Luca's pattern, Enzo said. He's sentimental. Always returns to the docks. Pier 39, where his old man died. Dago's eyes flicked to me. The container from the gala manifest. Medical supplies. It's a front. He's holding her there or wants us to think he is. I leaned over the tablet. Satellite feed showed the abandoned dockyard. Rusted cranes, stacked containers, the Hudson lapping black and hungry. Decoy or not? I said, he'll be there. Waiting. Dago's hand settled on my lower back. You stay here.
No.
The word cracked like a whip. Every head turned. I'm the reason he's doing this. I'm not hiding while you bleed for me again. His eyes searched mine. Then he nodded.
Fine.
But you wear this. He handed me a vest, smaller, fitted. A Glock 19 with a full mag. You remember how to use it. Point and squeeze.
Don't miss.
He almost smiled. We moved at 5:12 a.m. 3 SUVs, blacked out, no lights. Rain started as we hit the West Side Highway, fat, slashing drops that turned the city into a watercolor. I sat in the back with Diego, his hand on my thigh, thumb tracing circles like a metronome. The vest was heavy, but his touch grounded me. Pier 39 loomed at 5:47, skeletal, forgotten, the air thick with salt and rust. The rain had turned the gravel to mud. Lightning cracked overhead, illuminating stacks of containers like tombstones. Dago's voice was low in my earpiece. Team Alpha, North Perimeter. Bravo, South. And I take the center. No one fires unless I say. We moved like shadows. I stayed on Diego's 6, gun drawn, rain plastering my hair to my face. The dockyard smelled of diesel and decay. Somewhere, a chain clinked in the wind. Then movement. A figure in a yellow raincoat stepped from behind a container.
The decoy.
Her face was bruised, eyes wide. She raised a hand. Asterisk, please. Asterisk. Dago's gun was up in a heartbeat. Drop it.
She did.
A phone. It hit the mud with a splash. A voice crackled from the speaker. Lucas, distorted by rain and venom. Welcome to the end, boss. You bring my favorite assistant. Dago's finger tightened on the trigger. Show yourself. Laughter. Then gunfire. The decoy screamed as bullets sparked off metal. Diego shoved me behind a container, returning fire. Muzzle flashes lit the rain like strobe lights. I counted 3 shooters, high ground, catwalks. Diego took one down with a double tap to the chest. And left flank. I spun. A shadow lunged from the dark, knife gleaming. I fired twice. The man dropped, knife skittering across the mud. My hands didn't shake.
Progress.
Diego was already moving, a blur of black and fury. He scaled a ladder to the catwalk, boots slipping on wet metal. Another shooter fell, tumbling into the Hudson with a splash. Then Luca. He stepped from the shadows of a rusted crane, raincoat open, AR-15 cradled like a baby. His smile was manic. Always knew you'd come, Dago. For her. For family. Dago's gun didn't waver. You stopped being family when you sold me to Ricci. Luca's laugh was wet. Ricci was a means. This was personal. You took everything from me. Dad, the empire, the respect. Now I will take her. He raised the rifle. Time slowed. Diego fired first, center mass. Luca staggered, but didn't fall. Kevlar. He returned fire. Bullets sparked off the crane. Diego Dove rolled, came up behind a stack of pallets. I moved without thinking. Luca's back was to me. I raised the Glock. Drop it. He turned. Blood seeped from a wound in his shoulder. Dago's bullet had found a gap. His eyes were wild, pupils blown.
And.
Sweet and. You'd shoot me? You kidnapped an innocent woman. You tried to kill us. My voice was steady.
Drop it.
He smiled. You're more like him than you know. He lunged. I fired. The bullet took him in the thigh. He roared, dropped the AR. Diego was there in a heartbeat, tackling him into the mud, fists flying. Bone crunched. Blood mixed with rain. Luca fought like a cornered animal, knife flashing. It caught Dago's side, slicing through the vest. Diego didn't flinch. He pinned Luca's arm, twisted until the knife fell. Then his hands were around Luca's throat. For Mateo, he growled. For my father. For her. Luca's eyes bulged. His struggles weakened. I stepped forward. Dago. Asterisk stop. Asterisk. He looked up. Rain streamed down his face, mixing with blood. His eyes were empty. He doesn't get to breathe after this. Sirens wailed in the distance. NYPD. Closing in. I knelt beside them, hand on Dago's arm.
He's done.
Let the law have him. We're better than this. Dago's grip loosened. Luca gasped, coughing mud. Diego stood, swaying. Blood soaked his side. Dark, too much. He pressed a hand to it, staggered. I caught him as he fell to one knee. Dago. Asterisk, look at me. Asterisk. His eyes were glassy, but focused. You're safe. You're bleeding out. I ripped my hoodie, pressed it to the wound. The rain was cold, but his skin was hotter. You can't die. Not after everything. He smiled, crooked, faint. His hand found mine, fingers slick with blood and mud. I told you to stay, he murmured, voice fading. And you did. Sirens screamed closer. Red and blue lights painted the containers. I held him as the world rushed in, paramedics, cops. Enzo barking orders. Dago's head lolled against my shoulder, but his grip on my hand never weakened. The dockyard faded into chaos. But his words echoed, steady as a heartbeat. You did. The penthouse was quiet in a way it had never been. No guards in the hallway. No radios crackling. Just the low hum of the city's 65 floors below, and the soft beep-beep of the heart monitor clipped to Dago's finger. The bullet had torn through his oblique, nicked a rib, and collapsed a lung. 3 surgeries, 2 blood transfusions, and 21 days later, he was finally home. I moved through the rooms like a ghost in borrowed skin. The guest wing had become our wing. My clothes in his closet, my toothbrush beside his. Mr. President the cat curled on the duvet like he'd always belonged. The orchid on the nightstand had been replaced twice. I couldn't let it die. Dago said it reminded him of me. Stubborn, delicate, impossible to kill. He slept most afternoons, painkillers pulling him under. I sat beside the bed, changing bandages, counting breaths, tracing the new scar that ran jagged from his hip to his ribs. The ink around it, San Michel *, looked bruised, like even the saint was tired. Tonight, the city glittered like a promise kept. I stood at the kitchen island, folding the last of my clothes into a duffel. The navy coat from the decoy footage hung clean in the closet. My laptop, wiped, restored, useless, was in its case. A yellow post-it on top. HR packet enclosed. Severance is generous. References glowing. D****. He'd had it drafted the day he woke up coherent. So I could leave clean. The thought carved something hollow in my chest. I zipped the bag. The sound was too loud. Footsteps, slow, deliberate. Diego leaned in the doorway, one hand braced on the frame, the other pressed to his side. He wore gray sweatpants low on his hips, no shirt, the bandage stark white against olive skin. His hair was longer, curling at the nape. The cut on his cheek had healed to a thin silver line. "You're packing." His voice was raw from disuse, but steady. I didn't turn. "You're supposed to be in bed." Doctors cleared me for the stairs. "Not for losing you." He crossed the room, bare feet silent on marble. Stopped behind me, close enough that I felt his heat through my sweater. I gripped the duffel strap. "The threat's over. Luca's in federal custody. Ricci's empire's dismantled. I'm not at a loose end anymore. You were never at a loose end." His hand settled on my hip, thumb tracing the seam of my jeans. "You were the only thing that made sense." I faced him then. His eyes were storm gray again, but softer. Older. "You gave me an out," I said. "I'm taking it." He flinched, like I'd pressed on the wound. "You think that's what I want? It's what you planned, severance. References. A clean break." I gestured to the post-it. "You've been preparing me to leave since the dockyard." His jaw flexed. "I was preparing you to choose, not to be trapped." He stepped closer, until the duffel was pinned between us. "I've taken everything from you, your job, your safety, your goddamn peace of mind. I won't take your freedom too." Tears burned, sudden and traitorous. "You think leaving is freedom? It's mercy." His voice cracked. "Every scar on me is a reminder of what I drag people into. Mateo, my father. You. I won't watch you pay my debts with your life." I dropped the bag. It hit the floor with a thud. "You don't get it, do you?" I cupped his face, stubble rough, skin warm. "I'm not paying debts. I'm choosing. I chose the night I begged you not to fire me. I chose when I shot a man to save you. I chose when I held you bleeding in the rain and refused to let go." His eyes searched mine, desperate. "And you begged me not to be fired," I whispered. "Now I'm begging you not to leave." The words hung between us, fragile as the city lights flickering below. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, tears glinted, unshed, but there. "Then don't make me choose," he said, voice raw, "between keeping you safe and keeping you." He pulled me into him, careful of his side. His forehead pressed to mine. "I'm not," he murmured. "I'm asking you to stay with me." The dam broke. I kissed him, slow, salt-sweet, inevitable. His hands slid into my hair, anchoring me like I might float away. The duffel lay forgotten. The post-it fluttered to the floor. We moved to the window, back to the city. Manhattan sprawled beneath us, yellow cabs, neon, life pulsing like a heartbeat. Our reflections stared back, Me in his oversized hoodie, him bare-chested and bandaged, arms around my waist. Two souls forged in gunfire, tempered in ruin, bound by something fiercer than love. I traced the scar on his cheek. You should have been fired. He smiled, crooked, real. And yet, here I am. No, he said, pulling me close. Here you stay. The city lights blurred into gold. Outside, the world kept spinning. Inside, the cage of gold had become a vow.